10 horror movies based on true stories. 1. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The real Emily Rose was named Anneliese Michel. The German woman underwent an exorcism in 1976. She later died from malnutrition and dehydration. Her parents and the priests involved were charged with negligent homicide. The movie follows these events very closely. 2. Jaws. The most famous shark movie was based on a novel by Peter Benchley. The book was inspired by a real shark hunter named Frank Mundus. Mundus started what he called monster fishing on Lake Montauk. The character of Charter, Captain Quint, was based on him. 3. A Nightmare on Elm Street. In the movie, Freddy Krueger kills children in their sleep. Surprisingly, director Wes Craven was inspired by a true story. In the 1970s, some Asian refugees in the U.S. suffered from night terrors. They were so scared, they refused to sleep. Those who did succumb to sleep died, even though they were healthy. The condition was initially called Asian Death Syndrome. 4. Wolf Creek. The Australian horror movie features a killer who hunts backpackers. It was based on real-life serial killer Ivan Milat. He murdered 7 backpackers in Australia between 1989 and 1993. Weirdly, another similar killer was on trial when the movie came out. Bradley John Murdoch murdered English backpacker Peter Falconio in 2001. The court even delayed the movie's release in the Northern Territory. 5. The Exorcist. The Exorcist is based on the eponymous novel by William Peter Blatty, but the book itself was inspired by a true story. In the late 1940s, a boy known as Roland Doe began behaving strangely. His parents believed Roland was possessed. Several priests were invited to perform an exorcism. The boy became violent and stabbed one of them with a metal spring. 6. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie spawned an entire franchise. While the plot was pure fiction, some elements were not. The movie was inspired by notorious serial killer Ed Gein. Ed Gein made masks and baskets out of his victims' skins. He also kept their body parts as trophies. 7. The Hells Have Eyes. This horror classic was inspired by an old Scottish legend. A man named Sonny Bean led a cannibalistic clan. The 45-man clan lived in caves for 25 years. They ambushed unwary travelers and took them to the caves. There they would kill and eat them. 8. The Amityville Horror. The now famous franchise was based on a 1977 nonfiction book. The book purportedly describes a real-life haunting. The Lutz family moved into their house in Amityville in 1975. The house's previous resident had killed his family. The Lutzes claimed to be terrorized by paranormal phenomena. They fled the house, inspiring 10 books and more than 30 movies. 9. The Rite. This movie is a loose adaptation of The Rite, the making of a modern exorcist. The book itself was based on events recounted by Father Gary Thomas. Thomas was an American exorcist in training. He was sent to Italy to learn his craft. What he witnessed there became the basis of the book. 10. The Strangers. The movie depicts a group of masked killers. They show up randomly to terrorize and murder complete strangers. This story was partially inspired by Charles Manson, but it also mirrors the lesser-known Ketty murders. This quadruple homicide took place in Ketty, California in 1981. The perpetrator has never been found.